everybody. Look who it is. It is Tuesday. My name is Rich Teslo. I just bit my tongue while I was trying to talk there. That's cool. This is the Home Lab Hour. Two Guys Tech Home Lab Hour. Sorry, it's been a week. I wasn't here last week because I had a schedule mishap, which I want to talk about because that's something that it's part of my I like to tell stories, right? So it's good to be back. I'm so glad to be with you guys. Looking at the chat is already popping off, which is great, especially for a Tuesday. In Oregon, it is back to school day for many people, including my offspring, which is great because now I have a house to myself today, which is cool. Anyway, missed you guys. I hope you had fun. I got a lot to talk about, I guess. A lot of cool things to talk about, but I want to let's get through the housekeeping, as I like to call it. So first off, it is September 2nd. This is the Home Lab Hour, episode 27. Can you believe that? It's the 27th episode. That's wild. I see everybody in the chat, Levix, Terry, Jason, Allison. Thank you guys for joining us. What is this for? This whole live show is all about talking about home labs, talking about nerd stuff, technology, talking about the videos that I make on Two Guys Tech, and just kind of hanging out with the community. So if you have questions, if there's things you want to ask, if there's opinions or things you want to tell me I did something wrong, as long as you're respective. My brain is not working. As long as you're whatever. Anyway, so throw them into the chat. And I get 2 times the show to talk about the fact that we have a Discord. That's really largely the community part of this. So after the live show, we go and do a kind of a, just like we call it the after show where we hang out and we just all talk. Respectful. Thank you, Allison. See, this is going to be a great show. I can't even remember the word respectful. So cool. Anyway, so you can get to our Discord and all of the other cool stuff that we do by checking out the links on YouTube or whatever you want to do. That's up to you. And last but not least, Brandon is behind the scenes producing the show, turning the knobs, making sure that this looks good and that I don't just come off like a complete dork. And he's going to go on I don't know if he wants me to tell people this, but he's going to be gone for a couple weeks coming up here, which is a bummer. We'll miss him, but he's going for good reason. It's going to be good for him. So I'm not going to say what it is because that's not my place to say, but at least I have him this week. Anyway, all of that housekeeping out of the way. Okay. So, like I always do, I'll talk about it in a bit, Terry. We'll talk about it in a second here. I'm excited to show you guys what this looks like. I probably shouldn't show you what it looks like because then it kind of takes away a little bit from the video, but I don't know. I feel like this is a perfect place to talk about what this computer's going to look like. Anyway, I want to start with two personal stories, and you're just going to have to live through them. The first one actually happened last Tuesday, the day that I was supposed to do the live show, but I couldn't. I went to a security conference, and it was a pretty nice conference. It was one of the better that are two out in the Portland area. And at the conference, so if you've never been to a security conference, imagine it's kind of basically 2 parts. You've got a vendor hall, and the vendors are the people who basically pay for the conference, right? You can pay. Some people have to pay because of reasons, but they invite a lot of people for free. But the vendors are the ones footing the bill. No, it doesn't have a PC running Hyper-V. Anyway, and that didn't even come from Terry. I can't believe that. Levix, you're in trouble. Anyway. So I'm at this conference, and it's a fine. It's actually one of the better ones in the area. So I'm gonna guys. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do some. If you don't like a minor bit of bathroom humor, then you're just gonna have to move on. But I needed to go to the restroom, and I walked into the restroom, and I walked up to the stalls, the urinals, if you will, and I looked down in the urinal, and I saw this. Hopefully, Brandon. Look at that. So. Now, what is this? This is like a I don't know what you call them but it's like a protector that they put in the bottom of the urinal, but I wish I could enhance that. But anyway, it's from a company called Torque, and it says SIEM is dead, right? SIEMs are like log aggregators, like Splunk and whatnot. Anyway, I look at this thing, and I'm standing there in the urinal. It's typically protocol to not talk when you're doing the needful, if you will, right? You just don't talk when you're there. But I looked down and I lost myself for a minute. I'm like, oh, look at this. There's an advertisement in the urinal. First time I'd seen that. Oh, maybe I'm a sheltered man, but whatever. So I get done doing my business, and I flush, and then I step away, and I pull out my cell phone, and I go, and take a picture. I was completely in the moment of what I was doing with this thing in the urinal, and splash limiting device. Thank you, Allison. I turn to my right, and there's a line of other people who need to use the urinal. And I turn around, and there's a guy who's first in line. He wants my spot. And he looks at me, and he has this look of shock. Like, did this guy just take his phone out and take a picture of his pee? Like, what's going on here? And I looked in his eyes. I saw the realization of what he thought was going on, and I had the realization that he thought that I was doing this thing, and I'm just like, oh no! Listen, there's an advertisement right here. Look at the advertisement. It's an advertisement, and he's just like, I just walked in on this weirdness, and I'm just like, I'm trying to get away, and I go, and the guy walks over, and he sees, and he goes, oh, okay, like he's audibly relieved that it's not some weird fetish thing that's going on there. And I wash my hands, I get out of there, and it's only when I leave the bathroom that I realize it's probably not a good idea to pull your cell phone out when you're in a public restroom and take a photo of the urinal. And it struck me. I mean, that was one of those moments where I was just completely lost in the moment. It was awkward. In retrospect, I just don't know what I was thinking, guys. I was just kind of caught up in it. Anyway, that happened. That was the thing. And then the other thing, which is completely unrelated to that, thank goodness, is on Thursday, I was packing up the car because I took the family up to Seattle for Penny Arcade. There you go. Jason says you need some AR glasses with cameras. That's about right. Allison, hindsight is always 2020. That's for sure. Anyway, so Thursday I was packing up the car because I took the family up to Penny Arcade Expo. That's in Seattle, or better known as PAX West. We're going to talk about that because I did a little short while I was there about Framework. I want to talk about Framework because I think there's a lot of people, especially people in this audience, who have opinions about Framework and their mini PC, and we're going to have a little chat about it. What do you say? But anyway, I was loading up the vehicle, and a guy walks by with his dog. And I don't know if I've ever seen the guy before, but seen, and he says, hey, excuse me, you look really familiar. I think I subscribed to your podcast. This is not a passive way for me to get you guys to go listen to our podcast. That is not it. Although that would have been great. And I'm like, oh, me? And my first thought, because of just who I am inside my head, my first thought is, you can't be thinking of me. It must be somebody else. Sir, you must be confused. I couldn't possibly be the person you're talking about. I have a long beard now, but when I had the shorter beard, people would be like, you look like Kevin Smith. But I talked to the dude for a while, and he's a subscriber to the podcast. I'm like, oh my God. And, it's just, Grish, welcome. Shadow Technologies, welcome. It's just one of those things where, I don't know. There's a big part of me being, every time someone recognizes me, which is very, very rare, very rare. I shouldn't say that. I think a lot of people recognize me, but a vast majority of them don't say anything, because I've seen people, like when I'm walking, like for example, Best Buy is the perfect thing. If I walk through Best Buy and I think someone's recognized me, they do this. They're like, as they watch me walk by, they're like locked eyes. They're trying to figure out where they've seen me before. That's I think people recognize me. But very, very, very few people say hi. I think I know you, and I think that's a bummer, because I would love for people to say hello, and say hi, because I think that's cool. Anyway, that was neat. It's a very rare circumstance and one of those things. So if you see me, there's like a song. If you see me walking down the street, if you see me, and you're like, I think I know that dude, say hi. I'll shake your hand and say hi back. Anyway, with that, that's plenty of personal story stuff for now. The chat is full of opinions here. So let's talk about a few things. I want to first start by talking about last weekend and the Penny Arcade Expo. This is something that I do every single year. Most of the time I go with the family, but I also, drag friends with me too so they can see it. And PAX is basically one of those things where it's like a big all-encompassing gaming conference where, you know, there's a huge expo hall, there's a big like tabletop component, there's a lot of nerd stuff, a lot of my people, it's my land. And there are hardware vendors that show up, and it vacillates between year to year. Some early before the pandemic of 2019, there'd be tons and tons of hardware vendors. You'd see Intel, AMD would have a booth. Like, there'd just be a lot of people. These years, things are a lot less, and obviously with Intel, there's an obvious reason why, and they're just trying to stay alive, which we'll talk about in the news a little bit later. But Framework was there, and if you don't know who Framework is, Brandon, why don't you bring up a picture of their booth? They had a really teeny weeny booth, but because I'm a tech tuber, I have the ability to go as a creator to PAX, and so I schedule time to meet with them and talk with them and get to know, you know, get hands on their product. I personally have never actually used or touched a Framework system until technically Saturday morning at 10:30 in the morning, if I'm being honest, but had an opportunity to really dig in and play with it. And yeah, what did Levick said? Levick said if I wasn't getting cheap secondhand laptops from my work, I'd probably buy a Framework. I think Brandon's a big Framework person too, but Shadow Technologies, yes, we're talking about version 4.5.8 Framework. That's what we're talking about. There's always one in the audience, friends. Anyway, but I had an opportunity to look over it and play with their stuff, and I did want to talk about it. So first off, Brandon, you want to throw up the let's throw up the screen of screens. Here we go. So they had two systems there that they were kind of showing off. One was their updated 16-inch model Framework laptop, known as the AI 300 series, I believe is what they named it, and also their Framework desktop. Let's start with the Framework laptop. I have no connection with them whatsoever, but I walked away being incredibly impressed with the entire Framework design concept and playing, basically being able to modularly tear it apart. Like, you see a little bit of a picture here with this, like this. The whole system is basically set up with modular USB connections. And there's, I don't know if it'll show it here for a second, but that's the PCB, and you can swap out, like, the motherboard module is swappable. The new GPU, they have a brand new GPU module that just came out. These side pieces, you can do all of these things, right? You can move the keyboards around, get a 10 key, you can change the keyboard or the mouse location, and it just really, really well put together, really well. Like, I kind of walked away going, God, I want one of these things. And it all made sense, right? You can do like, you can see the stats here. They've got a bunch of 2 NVMe slots in them. You know, you can do a lot with this. It just was I was just very impressed with the entire process, or the hardware. They had their mini PC there as well. And this is where, the mini PC is the thing that I don't really quite get yet. And that's something that let's have a conversation about. So this Framework desktop is just a little computer, period, the end. Now, I'll probably get people complaining that I said that, but, you know, it comes in basically 3 flavors. All these are pre-order, by the way. And these 3 AMD sockets that are in there, you know, you can get the slower one, 32 gigs, or the faster one with 64, and the fast one again with the 128 gigs. And I know that, like, Wendell at Level 1 Text did a video about this, but hands-on with it, I struggle to understand what the actual value of this is. It felt like a company who made their, I'm glad Geek of All Trades just finally arrived. Whew, good thing I hadn't said anything ahead of time. If your business is, and I'm going to say this right now, I might eat my words later, but if your business is making a laptop or a platform, a framework, where you can swap out the different components and grow or change with the changing of the seasons in terms of hardware, that's an awesome concept. The Framework laptops Everything being modular, super cool. Like you want to put a new GPU in it, they have a new GPU module that you just slide out inside the new one. That's really rad, right? You want to change, upgrade the main board in your CPU, pull it out, put the new one in there. That's rad. That's awesome. I hope you're using that word right. I am 46. But their mini PC is just a mini ITX board that has basically a sock, right? Uh, a soldered on chip with, depending on the amount of RAM you want on this thing, quite a bit. Now, I get that it's AI and all this stuff, but we can also have a conversation about the AMD AI frameworks not being that great, right? But I asked them, like, what makes this different? What are you doing here with this that is different than like you changed the game with the laptop? What are you doing with the mini desktop that changes the game? And honestly, they didn't have an answer. Honestly, they didn't have an answer because the people who were working the booth didn't know anything about technology. They were nice people and they were very accommodating, but they were like hired by the ad agency that Framework hired to do their ad stuff, right? So their marketing. So I was three deep by that point, and so they were not very helpful. The other thing about it is it's only got a 4x PCI Express slot in it. And it's, again, Brandon and I were having a discussion about this ahead of time, but having 120 gigs of LPDDR5 is awesome. It's soldered on. Having 64 gigs is awesome. It's soldered on. I understand that that's a necessity to get faster mega transfers back and forth between the CPU and the RAM, but effectively it turns it into a SoC, right? A system on chip. And in that point, you can't upgrade it. There's nothing upgradable about this. This machine is basically, other than putting in a bigger hard disk or two, right? It's got two NVMe slots in it. Other than that, it's just a little miniature computer. Yeah. And I also feel like they made this, and because of the opportunity, because of the AMD CPU, but also it kind of felt like it was AI for the sake of AI. And I feel like that's probably something that, I don't know, guys. I feel like maybe I'm getting AI fatigue. If I may be so bold, I'm getting a little AI fatigue. These systems, let's talk about the price, because the price is something that I feel like we should talk about here. Let's go to pre-order now. We're going to pre-order this together. I'm not actually going to pre-order it. All right. So starting one, 32 gigs on the 385, max 385 is $1,100 US. Going to 64 gigs in the faster CPU, which essentially looks like it just doubles your cores. You get more graphics cores. Obviously, this is a better chip. Don't get me wrong. $1,600. 128 gigs, we're looking at $2,000. Now, this is just the board in the box. There's no RAM. Excuse me. There's no storage. You'll have to. I mean, you can put whatever you want on it. It's just a 120 millimeter fan. But it really kind of puts in perspective, like, is it a good AI system? Well, I guess if AMD got all of their ducks in the row with their AI compute framework, right, then that would be a different story. But that still really doesn't exist yet. So it's the promise of this, which again makes me feel like it's AI fatigue. But yeah, so yeah, we got lots of opinions in the chat. Allison saying even mini PCs are getting too expensive these days. Yeah, I mean, things are. I was having a conversation at PAX with a friend. We were talking about the cost of computer hardware, and he was complaining about the same thing, like these systems being so expensive. And he's like, I remember when I'm doing the member berries. He's like, I remember when it was this cheap, but then then there was the pandemic, and then there was a hardware shortage, and then everything got expensive, but the prices never went down when the shortages went away. I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. This is what things cost now. So unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Cool. Anyway, I'm going to reach out to Framework and see if I can't, I don't know, have a conversation with, maybe get one of these little mini PCs myself to play with, just to get a feel, because they were using it as a gaming PC, and it'll do that. It'll run it'll do a good job as a gaming PC if that's something that you're looking for. It feels a little misapplied, if you will. Like it's clear that they really want to lean in on the AI, and but that was that was it. And there's one other thing, Brandon. Show those shoes. This is completely, again, back to the PAX thing. Completely. Uh, there's a company making years ago. You guys remember maybe a decade ago, like the whole idea that was that VR was going to change the world. So you had all these companies making VR stuff like vests and controllers that looked like guns and all this stuff, like all these VR things. And then VR just essentially died. It just went and it was dead. There was one company and they were making those things right there. And they're VR shoes. And they look like moon boots, right? Like and they it was goofy. They were having I tried to stay and watch and see them actually get used, and they just couldn't get them to work. Like they were just back and forth between the shoes, pressing the button on the back of the shoes probably to resync it, and then back to the PC to hit the button. But they were it wasn't working. Yeah. So what's the chat say? The VR still lives, kinda. But it's way outside the budget of 90%, 5% of people. Allison is right. That was, I remember back in the day when the Oculus Rift, here I am, I'm back. When the first Oculus Rift came out, and I had to have it, and I bought it. And I remember talking to somebody, and he's like, "There's no way it's going to survive because it costs $600, and most people can't afford to dump $600 on just basically a monitor strapped to your head." And I was like, "No, you're wrong. You're wrong, sir. You are wrong, sir. Get out." He was right. Sorry. He was, fast forward in the future, hindsight being 2020, he was right. It's too expensive. So the moon shoes are back. Okay. All right. So let's shift gears here and move on. I owe you guys a little bit of video about the oh, there's one more thing I gotta say. I just have to, because it was a really odd experience. On Friday, I stopped by that framework booth and just to kind of scope out the scene and get ready, so I would know when I got there. When I had 2GT John with me there, and he was going to shoot the video, and so I just wanted to get like scope the scene in the booth. And there was a relatively large, well-known YouTuber who showed up and just like pushed everybody away from the booth and just started filming, like jammed his camera and everything into the face of one of these booth workers. And it was an odd thing, like super rude. I'm still stunned by it. Stunned enough to tell you guys about it. I'm not going to say who it was, but it was an experience. Like, that was just odd. Anyway, I want to show you. Okay, so first off, I owe you an apology. I tried really, really hard to get the video on the 3D printed mini PC with the Minisforum motherboard done and out the door before I left. I'm only one man. I'm a mere mortal, so it didn't happen. Working on it now. But I did get it built, and I would like to show you guys. There we go. Pointing at the camera, what it looks like now, because I'm so in love with this. Okay, what you see here is my hand. See, nice. See, okay. I am no mortal. Lies, mere mortal. Okay. You're seeing it early. This is the case, completely built. It's too bad that Aragorn Strider's not here to see it. I'm just going to rotate it. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to rotate it around. Still, look at the sides here. I'll pop a side just for you guys a second. Here's the back. I mean, you look at this and you're like, it looks like a real case. Like the IO shield, everything's in the right spot. The power supply is recessed. This is an awesome button. This button lights up. God, I'm giving you guys. It is sick. Let's see here. I'll slide it back a little bit so you can see a little bit more of it. I hate to show you guys. So this is the back side, or this is the front, or this is the back of the case, clearly, right? And these are the 5 bays for the 4 terabyte hard drives that are going in it. And there's 2 screws down here. You take those screws out, and this protective piece pops out, and then they just slide out. They're literally in little caddies. So I want to I just want to show you guys. So I'm sorry. Let's look at this side here. So this thing right here, do you see this little cutout here? This little cutout here is how you take these sides off. So I'm gonna put my hand in here, pop one side, pop the other, and there is the inside of this. Now, this is a mini ITX board, obviously inside of a purpose-built case. And I'm using a Noctua fan as the cooler because what's better than an FA 12x25 for cooling? Short answer is nothing. It is all PETG. That's right. It's all PETG. These areas up here have these little, like, it's kind of hard to see. There's a little bit, little, basically they're clips that go in, and that's what holds the case together, these sides on. See the sides here have these little tabs, right? And they correspond with it, and they just pop in. The cable management on this is just super simple, super easy. And it, sorry, put the side back on there. It just came out so nice. It is like, if you have a 3D printer and you can print PETG, you'd be crazy not to do it. The fit and finish of this case, like, here, check this out. This is the top. I don't know if you can see it because of I don't have good lighting where I'm at here, but the top of this thing, there's a 120 or 140 millimeter fan in there. And so it draws from, draws air up from the bottom. Down the bottom here, there's another 120 millimeter fan. So you have this flow of air that comes straight up and out of the case. And it's just, maybe I'm just so used to building my own cases and designing everything myself, all janky style. But, and this thing, I'm thoroughly impressed. These guys at ModCase, this was incredibly well designed. I don't know what to say. It is crazy. It is BANANAS. Yes, Gwen Stefani. It's bananas. And I'll be happy when we get the video out the door and announce the special, which you guys most already know what it is. I need to drink water. So, any questions, any thoughts, anything like that, you get in there and you let me know what you think. It's just, one more thing. I'll show you one more thing. Brandon, you want to go back to the, there you go. There's only really one thing fundamentally that I wish that this had that it doesn't. And I bet I could talk to ModCase about finding a way to design it. This is, I'm going to show you the stuff. Here it is. So down here, there's a little door here too, because there's little magic doors everywhere. And this is effectively where the interfaces, the SATA cables and power for the drives is. There's no back plane in this. Yeah, Terry, I know. That's what Brandon said too. It needs a 2GT badge. I could probably reprint this side and put yeah. But I'm not a computer company, so I don't know if I can do it. But anyway, so this feels less. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is the only part that feels less. Feels a little janky because I have this big bundle of SATA cables that run down from the SATA interface in there, and then but it's all flush. It's all smooth. This thing's not bowed out or gross. It's just it's just, I would love to have a backplane. So the question, Geek of all trades, how many printing hours in all, not including assembly? Hold on a second. Boop, 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 boop. I believe it's 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 50 seconds. Sorry, 2 days, 14 hours. Oh my gosh. What did I write down? I wrote it down. I'll look here. Stand by. I had to write it down because it was like, I'll tell you exactly how much it was because it's in my thing here. And I really want you guys to know how much time it took. Scrolling. Golly. Okay. It was a grand total of, where you at, big guy? I know it's 2 days. Oh, there's. Oh, sorry. Okay. Total print time for everything was 2 hours. Excuse me, 2 hours. Can you imagine? 2 days, 14 hours and 50 minutes of combined print time. Now to be clear, it wasn't. That's a combined thing. So I basically took all the prints, plated them again, and that was the, Shadow Technologies, man. I gotta tell you what, I tried so hard, so hard Brand throw up his comment about it needs a display. They have a panel for it, but that's the one thing that's not designed for it. I mean, so they have I had a 5-inch and a 7-inch, and I bought the panel that they said. I got everything. It's literally over here. It's just mocking me. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the way this is designed. It's not possible. It's literally not possible to put that display on there. But that didn't stop me from buying all the components and trying. I gave it a good try. I did, but I couldn't make it work. So it's not there. So it's not going to have the display. I mean, let me show you. Never mind. I have it over here in a box. I'm not going to show you, but trust me, it was super disappointing. Like you can ask either of the guys. I was a bit heartbroken, if I may be so bold. But this thing is bananas, and I'm so excited so I've already installed TrueNAS Scale on it and built out a volume, did a bunch of simple testing. The video's not going to have any like, this is it running Proxmox, this is it running TrueNAS Scale, because I tested to make sure it all worked and that it was working good and it was stable and reliable and quiet. And by the way, it's so quiet because of the Noctua fans. It's just, it's chef's kiss, right? It's great. Okay. I don't know what else to say about it other than I'm just super proud of it. I've never 3D printed something and put it together and had it been this perfect before. I guess, I don't know. You listen to me talk about it, you'd think I was not going to give it away, but I am. Okay. There you go. Shadow Technologies is just telling me to pull out a Dremel and do some tape and glue. But no, I wanted to be proud of this thing. And the only way I was going to be proud of it is by doing it the right way. So that's the way it is. Let's move on. That's coming. I should have the video done this week. So, I mean, like I'm hoping, man, I would love to get it out the door so we can talk about it at the next live show, because that would be a big deal. So it's coming. Just, I'm but a man, but a mere mortal. All right, moving on. What else we got to talk about here? Oh, let's talk about another, man, I got a backlog a mile long here, but the thing I want to talk about next is I am going to be looking into the Canonical microcloud platform. Brandon, if you will, please. What is this, you say? Basically, it is a private cloud platform that is entirely free to set up and run yourself, built on top of Ubuntu, of course. And obviously you can pay for support from Canonical if you want a real like enterprise thing. But their whole platform is kind of interesting. You know, it's virtualization is handled by LXC. It uses Ceph for clustered storage and OVN via micro OVN for software-defined network functionality. And you know, I did the video about Platform 9, which I really, really liked Platform 9's user experience, and we'll see how this actually compares essentially, because this is Canonical makes some pretty bold claims. They're just like, all you got to do is have a couple of Ubuntu servers running, and then you type in a few commands, and poof, you have a private micro cloud. And I feel like anytime someone says, like, they even have an example of it here. So this was the thing I was found kind of interesting. Is like, to deploy a fully functional scalable cloud in minutes, just type microcloud join. It uses Snap. It uses Snap to install. So you got to install this stuff via Snap. I know it's going to make some people unhappy because you're either an apt person or you're a Snap person, and those two shall not mix. I get it. I respect that. But this will be an interesting thing to deploy. I'll bring you guys along. It's still Kubernetes. It doesn't use LXC. They claim it's it tells you what it's like. These are the three things. So we'll see. I don't think anywhere in here, Leavix, I don't think LXD. I'm sorry, LXD. I keep saying LXC because what is the difference other than one following letter? I apologize. Thank you, Brandon, for pointing that out. LXD. It runs LXD for virtualization. It runs Ceph for storage, and it runs OVN for its SDN networking stuff. Words are hard. What can I say? Anyway, so this is going to come soon, and I'll be working on this. You know, I like the idea that it's, you know, in theory, it's as simple as if you're an Ubuntu person, you spin up your Ubuntu servers, you install these components, and poof, it's off and running. But I feel like the devil's always in the details with a lot of this stuff. So, like, I remember looking through the Let's accept those. Oh no, dark mode. Anyway, yeah. So this kind of walks you through step by step, and we'll see. But I'm excited about that. So that's coming. It's been a while since we've done a video on virtualization of some sort, right? So it'll be a good opportunity to go through that and talk about it. Let me know. Oh, Sean, good to have you, buddy. Welcome. Levix with his, my pain is proof it's still Kubernetes enough, though. Yeah, some people in their Kubernetes. What can I say? But yeah, I'll dig into this and see if I can put a video together. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. It'll be fun. And then we'll try out their virtualization and see how it works. I'm probably going to roll this out on the actual Iron, though. My first thought was to take this and just nest it inside of Proxmox. But the only real way for me to really feel like this is something that works is to actually deploy it on real Iron. So I'll use the quad node downstairs just to give that a fighting chance. That's what the quad node's for. It's for running clusters of VMs and seeing how it works. Otherwise, how do we know it's actually good? Anyway. So you guys definitely make sure that you, if you've used this before, or if you're interested in it, let me know. I want to make sure I'm making videos you guys like to watch. That's kind of the idea, I think. I'm not sure what the idea is, actually. So, moving on, what else we got here? Was there something else? Oh, yeah, Brandon brought this up, and I want to talk about it, because it's easy to pile on. Let's just let that marinate for a second. Intel gets $5.7 billion from Trump deal as White House says details are being ironed out. I think this might be our first technology company bailout of our lives. No, like I've been alive long enough now to have seen the airline industry get bailed out a couple times, maybe, and we've seen the automotive industry bailed out, and now the Intel is bailed out. This is a huge pile of money. Intel CFO David Zinsser said that the semiconductor giant received $5.7 billion from the U.S. government. The investment is part of the U.S. government's decision last Friday to take a 10% stake in the beleaguered computer chip company. So, what do you guys think? Do you think they should have gone? If we had some free market capitalists in the chat, they would be saying they should have died. But I don't know. Intel is a staple of. If you lose Intel, that leaves you with just AMD, and then that's it. And everybody's still going crazy about Kubernetes in the chat. Kubernetes, it's the thing that. There's a bunch of buzzwords that we've been talking about during our live chats about, like, what can we throw out there to just spin up people. I think Kubernetes is one of those things. You just say Kubernetes X, and then people are like, Kubernetes, so it's great. But hopefully, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that I don't want Intel to die. Am I wrong for that? Like Intel was like my first chip, my first CPU back in the day was an Intel. What did Allison say? Allison had an opinion here. Throw it up on the chat there, Brandon, or on the screen. There we go. Intel already died years ago when they stopped having engineers in charge. They just, oh my gosh, I can't read today. My goodness. They just saved the shambling zombie corpse. Oof. That's some tough words. I think you could probably say that about a lot of modern businesses that are being run these days, Allison. A lot of businesses putting on technology people in charge, and it ended in the death of companies. VMware, maybe. VMware, yeah, VMware. You think so? Anyway. Oh yeah, yeah. So I don't know. This whole thing is got me wondering. Like, that's a huge pile of money, but is it money that Intel needs if they're not actually making the products that people want to buy? They're not actually getting things out the door. So, you can dump a bunch of cash. What did Levick say? Levick said, unfortunately, I think we have no choice. There they are important to, my gosh, they are too important for a chip maker, and too many of them still exist in companies production. If they went down, it would be too much risk. The other part of it is that if we lose one of the two x86 CPU manufacturers in the world, then it's an instant monopoly, right? So that leaves AMD with all of the control, which I wonder what happens to the patents if that's the case. If Intel was to die, would the x86 patents just, they'd probably sell them off. They'd probably have to sell them off to the creditors. That's what they do. Anyway, but we'll see. So this is interesting news, big news too, especially if you are a pro Intel person. Like BK mentioned in the chat, like in the Oregon economy, Intel is a really, really big part of Oregon. Like they have at least 2 or 3 campuses in the Hillsboro area alone, and they're big. They're big campuses. Like they make CPUs there. That's a big deal. So AMD, AMD doesn't make their own actual chips. You're right. So Sean Wood said AMD, I thought, outsourced to TSMC. AMD, if I remember correctly, they had a foundry, and I believe it was and they spun it off. So they basically said, no, we're just going to be in the intellectual property. We're going to make and sell products, but we're going to have a third party actually be the foundry. So anyway, that's it. And the one last thing before we call it a show for the day was the big news about book authors settling copyright lawsuits with AI company Anthropic, where Anthropic, for an undisclosed sum of money privately, basically paid off the authors that they scraped all their books and trained their models with. Although I find this one thing here interesting, that this comment here, U.S. District Judge William Alsup of San Francisco said in his June ruling that the AI systems distilling from thousands of written works to be able to produce its own passages of text qualified as fair use under U.S. copyright law because it was quintessentially transformative. You know, it's called piracy when we do it, but when a giant corporation with big pockets does it, it's now quintessentially transformative. This thing bothers me. Like, obviously Anthropic decided to settle with those people, which either means that they agreed on not continuing it on or not. But like this, it just feels so slimy, like so slimy. What about Meta and getting caught with like how many terabytes of books and stuff that they just scraped off of torrents? When's that lawsuit coming? But no, it won't. They only go after people who use Napster. Anyway, I think we should call it a live show, friends. So let's bring this to an end. It's always my pleasure, my joy to hang out with you guys. We do it every week. In a little bit here, we're going to jump over to the Discord and hop into our, basically our chat. So hop in there if you can. It's always good to talk to you guys. And we'll do this again next week, guys. What do you say? Sound good? And maybe I'll have this thing over here. It's got a handle. It's got an actual handle. Like, it's so well built. Anyway, I'm so jazzed. So incredibly jazzed. Okay. All right, friends. Thank you so much for spending your evening with me. We will see you again in a week. Have a good one. And thanks for watching. Take care.